Welcome to Shapeshift. I'm your host, Jimmy Ryan, and my co-host, Scott Payne, is with us today. And I'm telling you what, this is one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. We get to interview Dale Vermillion today. And look, we have a lot of things that we want to talk about. But first, before we let Dale say a couple things here, I want to intro him because, like, this guy is he has just the most epic list of accomplishments. I'm going to keep it to a couple. First off, he's the host of Batting 1,000 podcast, which, man, we've interviewed a lot of the same people. But man, it's so cool to watch industry veterans just talk with one another and just talking shop and strategies. Yep. Dale is the CEO and founder of Mortgage Champions, which he has trained over 1 million loan officers over the past 27 years, 700 companies. Dale has been the lead trainer of LendingTree University. And actually, I told him this when I've interviewed you in the past, is that, you know, I was on a LendingTree University coaching call, and I was like, oh yeah. And I mean, I'm talking a decade ago. I mean, at least. And I was like, who the heck's this Dale Vermillion guy? What is he going to teach me? And I started the whole thing just totally closed off to what you were going to say. And because whatever. I was young and cocky and thought I knew it all. And
10 foot tall and bulletproof, as they say.
Yeah. So, but anyway, then I jump on. I'm like, holy crap, this guy knows what he's talking about. Wow, he talks kind of like me, and he just like boom, 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 boom. When you get Dale on a roll, it's hard to stop the guy. But anyway, we want to start this off by talking about. Well, I want to start by talking about giving back. And Dale is also the leader of Mortgage Professionals Providing Hope, which is a nonprofit which helps people in need. And SDP Solutions, which is Scott Payne, he just did the tally, and he's actually donated over $38,000 over the past 3 years. And that's amazing. Awesome. I mean, I've donated too, but bro, yours, like, I mean, that's light years over little old Jimmy Ryan over here. But what a cool thing to say. And SDP Solutions is now Shape Professional Services. And with that, I want to welcome Scott. I want to welcome Dale. What's up, guys? Welcome to Shapeshift.
Jimmy, Scott, great to be with you guys. Love you two guys. Dear friends, and I'm a big fan.
And I've got my headband on to capture all the sweat from, you know, being in a room with Dale. Like, I always get nervous, and he's a legend. He's a legend. So yeah, this is cool. I got my armbands too. My shape.
Love it.
Dude, I love it. So it's a legend to say the least. So what I want to start off with is I've been watching how active you've been, Dale, lately in podcast creation. It's really cool to see, because you didn't even start any sort of podcasting back when I interviewed you. And I feel like it was just yesterday, but man, I looked it up. It was 2021. It was like the first quarter of 2021. And you've come a long way. And just recently I saw you interview two people that I've also interviewed like at the same time. So it's Kyle Draper and Todd Duncan.
Yep.
And I've been watching some of your clips with Todd Duncan, and it's just super cool to see just it's just a different perspective. We had different shows, but he just exudes so much wisdom and greatness. And then Kyle Draper, my God, what a cool dude. And all three of us all have a huge connection as Scott's holding up his book. So you had actually an interview, Dale, with Kyle, and Kyle was talking about how you, Kyle, and Todd, all from the stage at, I think it was AIM 6, had a theme of authenticity and being your realest, truest self. So working with Shape, a lot of times people that are calling leads, for instance, and trying to develop a relationship over the phone, a lot of times, we got to fake it till you make it. But when you actually become it and you're exuding your realest, truest self, I think authenticity is something that a lot of people just underestimate the power of it. So to tee us off, Dale, how would you encourage people to be authentic over the phone without being too salesy, without being a lack of sales as well? How do you encourage people to be authentic when they connect with people over the phone?
Well, the key is really simple. Just be a human being. Look, there should be absolutely no salesmanship that takes place in a call with a customer. It should be a conversation with that customer on how you can change their life. That's the simplest way that I can set the stage for people. And I shared this. Kyle was on Batting 1,000 with me yesterday, and we were talking about this. I said, the key to this business today, more than any other thing, is making sure that you are not using technology to replace relationship, but to enhance relationship. And at the end of the day, if you're not building great relationships in this marketplace, you're not going to win. So I used a thing that I love to use. The key to being successful in today's marketplace is being memorable. Now think about that word for a minute and think about the 5 last letters to memorable. It's RABLE. All right. If you rearrange those letters, here's what it spells: be real. If you're going to be memorable, you got to be real. You got to be yourself. You've got to talk to the customer as if they're a human being who is looking for the biggest investment of their lifetime. You've got to act like you've never talked to them before, like it's a long lost cousin that you're catching up with for the first time in 15 years. And you really have to show interest in them by slowing yourself down. The biggest mistake, Jimmy, that loan officers make by far in this business is they're in a hurry to fail. That's the problem. They get on the phone and they're thinking in their mind, well, this customer probably doesn't have a lot of time. First off, why would you think that? They're applying for a $500,000 loan. They got plenty of time. Trust me. And then they think, well, okay, but if they do have time, I may not have time because, I got to talk to more people. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Stop there. I'm going to give the formula I've given my entire career to every loan officer who succeeded. It's simply this. If you want to close 15 loans a month, what does it take? 1 sale a day. That's it. You get one borrower to give you a complete application with complete documentation. They go in your pipeline. That's 21 in your pipeline. You're going to close 70 to 75% of them every single time. That's a national average. That's 15 to 16 loans a month. I don't meet a lot of loan officers today who are doing 15 to 16 loans a month in the real world out there. And I train tons of them. They're doing 20 and 30 right now in the 2023 marketplace because they understand it's one customer at a time, one conversation at a time, one human at a time. That's the key to it. And I'll add one more thing to that. And it's this, okay? We are in a 2023 market that is a conversion market. It's not a volume market like 2020 and 2021. 22, 23, and 24, all conversion markets, which means that because rates have been up, consumer activity goes down, you get less opportunities at the plate. You got to make them count. You can't whiff with your borrowers on today's market. So because it's a conversion market, here's a great thing to remember. The word conversion is embedded in the word conversation. It only has 2 more letters. A-T, right in the middle. You know what that A-T stands for? Allow time. You need to have a conversation that allows you the time to get to know your borrowers. People say to me all the time, well, you can't build a kind of relationship over the phone you can in person. Says who? I've built incredible relationships with people over telephone that I didn't meet for years and years and years and years. When I finally did, it was like we knew each other for 50 years. It's a process of asking the right questions and then listening when they talk, not trampling over their words, not trying to sell them something, not trying to, blow them away with your knowledge of the mortgage market because they don't understand what you're saying anyway when you talk mortgage terminologies. It's really just saying, Jimmy, you're looking for $400,000 to buy a home. Tell me about that home. Tell me why you're buying. Tell me where you're buying. Tell me what you want to buy. Tell me what you need to help you buy. Show me how I can get you in that home today. You start a conversation like that, Jimmy opens right up.
I mean, Dale, it just goes right back to your first thing. It's just being human. That's it. I mean, do you actually care about anything about them, or do you just care about getting a sale and a commission and making money? And it just simply comes down to that. Scott, there's a lot of places I want to go, but I want to get you in on this. So
I was just going to add, I think, he mentions 1 sale a day. And I think that, a lot of people think of that as they've got to be my pipeline today. Right. And he mentions that we need to, but here's what will happen. If you're doing a good job and you're building a relationship and you're doing a good job in your CRM and you're updating things and you're letting the automation and these things work for you, you're not just pushing links out. As we'll talk more about link pushers. new terminology, if you're not doing those things, you're doing all the stuff Dale talks about, you're going to start receiving loans into your pipeline for people you talked to 45, 90, 120, 365 days ago, right?
Yep.
So building and taking the time to do that now may not put it in your pipeline today, but getting to know them on that personal level and talking to them and having that conversation with them will add to your pipeline and allow you to have one sale a day, over time as you continue to go into it.
Yeah, it's like any relationship in the world. You don't have a relationship without frequency. You just don't. You're not going to meet somebody for the first time, spend 20 minutes with them, build this great friendship, and you're friends for life. It just doesn't work that way. You have to invest on the front end, and more importantly, you got to keep reinvesting on the back end. That's where technology becomes such a powerful tool, because it gives you the reminders and the prompts that you need. But here's the mistake that I see is too many loan officers let the technology do the work for them. Instead of picking up that phone or sending a video that's really powerful to a borrower that gets them excited, or, really just having that conversation that's meaningful to them. These are the things that make the difference between top producers and everybody else.
100%. And you're talking about how technology is not going to replace, but it can enhance. And great quote from Dave Savage is that it kind of mirrors that, is that like AI, like, look, there's a market for the do-it-yourself mortgage, and it's a growing market, but it's still minuscule, truly. And it's more so what we should focus on as professionals is that how do we leverage technology to make it quicker, make it faster, make it more efficient, not just on the client, but on our task list. How do we call through a list of 100 people, and how do we do it as quickly as possible, but also still actually take the time to connect and actually develop a relationship over the phone? You're mentioning it's just like you could have a 15-minute talk with somebody, and man, it's crazy how many things you can learn if you listen. If you listen. And so on the realm of using technology to enhance, Dale, what do you see the top people that you're in circles with, top producing loan officers, how are they leveraging technology to enhance their business?
Well, in a multitude of ways. I mean, first and foremost, any loan officer who is trying to be successful in a marketplace like you're in today and doesn't utilize a CRM system that's going to help you to organize your calls, organize your leads, bring you the prompts, remind you when to call, keep them in front of you, you don't have a prayer. You do not have a prayer in this marketplace, because we're in a marketplace where, again, the most common thing I hear loan officers talk about is rates. Oh, the rates are up, the market's tough. I'm like, what are you talking about? Rates got nothing to do with anything. The only thing that rate does to the mortgage industry is when rates go up, consumer activity goes down, but their needs don't change. People need to borrow money more today and save money more today than they have at any time in the 40 years I've been in the industry, believe it or not. Why? Because debt's the highest in U.S. history by far. Equity's the highest in U.S. history by far. Concern of the economy is the highest I've seen in a long, long time. And the cost of living is through the roof. So we're sitting here talking about, well, people don't want to do things in these rates. No, they do. They just don't think they're supposed to. So what happens is they watch the media, they see the rates go up, they pull away and go, well, this probably isn't a good time to borrow. The rates go down, they start to put their toe in the water a little bit. But if you're using your CRM, you're not waiting for them. You're calling them on a consistent basis. And your message is simply this. This is all you got to say to them. Hey, look, let me tell you why I'm calling you today. You're probably as concerned about the economy as I am. And you're probably struggling just like I am. And the reason I'm calling is to help you to stop those struggles today. I'm here to help you improve your economy personally. And I like to just take some time to talk to you about that. Doesn't cost you a dime. Give me 15 to 20 to 30 minutes and I can change your life today. That simple of a call is treating them like a human. It's being authentic. And most importantly, you're not talking about mortgages or rates or any of that stuff. You're literally talking about the only thing that person's thinking about right now is their personal finances in the toughest economy we've seen in 35 years. That's simple.
It really truly is. It's that simple. And I feel like, man, you're right. People are staring at a rate sheet and it's all that they can think about is interest rate, interest rate, interest rate. What about value? What about monthly payment savings? What about cash to close differences? Things that actually make decisions. People don't decide on a rate. They decide on how much does this cost me out of my pocket and what's it cost me monthly, which rate is important too, but you can't quantify any of those things with rate. Scott, what would you add to that?
I was just thinking about Bruce Thompson.
We love Bruce, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We love Bruce. There's a whole story, and I've heard Dale tell it a couple of times now, but it's one of my favorite stories. And I know, kind of how he leads into it. It's just, I see it come in and, he just hits it hard and usually, like the AIM conference, there's still a lot of people that hadn't heard it to that point in time. So it was really cool. But, the idea is that, Bruce doesn't sell rates. Bruce is about value, about getting it done, about making sure that it's a good experience. Right. And that's Bruce. That's the Bruce Thompson story. So if anyone can go look it up, I've found it on YouTube in the past. Just type in Bruce Thompson and Dale Vermillion, you'll find it. It's a good story.
Appreciate that.
All right, so link pushers. So I kind of feel exposed by you guys talking about link pushers, if I'm honest. When I would call leads, I would spend 15 minutes getting to know them. So argue this with me. My barrier to entry was that they could figure out how to fill out an online application and upload their docs. And the reason why I did that was because, man, I've driven to people's houses for every step that they needed to get to me. And look, if you're elderly, if you really can't do it, look, I'm going to do it. However, there's simply not enough time in the day if you want to do high volume. Granted, it's more of a conversion market, not a volume market. So what's the balance between being super cold and being like, here's my link, fill it out, and leveraging technology to enhance your business by leveraging a link?
Yeah. So you said a lot of really important things there, Jimmy, that I want to key in on, because this is such an important topic. This is probably the single biggest mistake loan officers are making in the marketplace today. And so that I don't lose anybody here and they look and say, who's that 62-year-old guy with the gray all over his face? Is he against technology? Absolutely not. If you don't have an online application, you are not fit for this marketplace. Let me just be very clear about that. And the reason for that, more than any other single reason, is two reasons. Uniformity of the application for your ops team so you can move the file through faster, and it's a better format, okay? But number two is the most important: docs. It's the easiest way in the world to get docs. Now, having said that, let me tell you the mistake that loan officers make again and again and again and again and again, and until they stop doing this, they're never going to see big numbers, is they just want to push that link off to that borrower as quick as they can. They want the borrower to self-serve. If the borrower wanted to self-serve, they wouldn't have called you. If the borrower wanted to self-serve, they wouldn't have responded to your call. The borrower wants to ask you questions. The borrower wants to understand why this is a good time to buy and why this is a good time to refinance. They want to understand why they should pay 7.5% on a mortgage loan when it was 3.5% just a year and a half ago. They need to understand what are down payments and how do they work and what's the right down payment and what is an LTV and they need to know all these things, and a link can't solve any of that for them. Not only that, but they need to have a trusted advisor. And to be a trusted advisor, you have to build a relationship, and a link cannot build a relationship. So here's the deal. The way that you use your technologies is very simple. You co-pilot the link with a conversation. Look, Jimmy, here's what I'm going to do. To make this really easy for you, I'm going to send you this link right now. You can get it on your smartphone or you can get it on your computer, whichever one's easier for you. Okay? The link's coming to you right now. But what I'm going to do, Jimmy, is I'm going to stay on the phone with you. I'm not just going to send this to you and vacate and let you do the work on your own, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions you have I'm going to need to answer for you. And by the way, as you're going through that, I want to make sure if there's anything you're confused by, I can settle that for you. And now, guess what I get to do? While they're filling out the basics, I get to say, so Jimmy, tell me more about the house. Hey, why'd you choose that neighborhood? How many bedrooms has it got? Oh, how many children do you have? Oh, how many you're planning on having? And all of a sudden, we are best buddies in literally 15 minutes, because I'm having a conversation with you while you're putting in basic things that you can do very simply on that application. I now have you shoot me that application. You can now send me your documentation. I can go deeper into that conversation, and now I've got the best of all worlds. I've got technology working for me and relationship working for me at the same exact time. Now, let me say this too, because I hear this all the time. Okay. Loan officers will say to me, well, Dale, you're out of touch. I go, really? Tell me how I'm out of touch. Well, today's consumers, they're different and they don't want to have a conversation with you. They want you to send them a link. And I love to ask them this question. Really, help me understand, like, what generation are you referring to? What group of people? Well, all these millennials and these Gen Ys and Gen Zs. And I go, well, that's funny, because I have read a dozen studies at least, and every one of them told me the same exact thing. You know who the most tech savvy person you're going to work with is? A baby boomer like me. Why?
Get out of here.
The truth.
Really?
It is absolutely the truth. And why is it the truth? Because I've done 10 mortgages in my life. I don't need you to explain to me what a mortgage is. I've done this before. I just want to get it done. I want an Amazon approach.
Right.
I don't need you to be my buddy necessarily. I just need you to get me a good loan.
Right.
But a millennial doesn't know a thing about a mortgage. A first-time buyer has no clue. We have the young generations today that are the smartest people that the world's ever seen. They've been better educated than anybody. But you know what they don't know anything about? A mortgage. It's not in their college classes anywhere. So here's the deal. The younger they are, the more they need you to explain to them what they're doing and why they should do it. And even though they may be more tech savvy in a general sense, when it comes to a mortgage transaction, they need you to help them walk through the process. And I've read study after study after study after study that has proven that out time and time and time again from companies like Zillow and the MBA and all of the ones that really are interviewing people, that they understand the dynamics of consumers today. So if your excuse is, well, I'm going to use it because that's what the customer wants, let me say one more thing. One of the services I provide to my enterprise clients is we listen to a lot of their loan officers' phone calls. I've got a team that evaluates those phone calls, listens to them and says, okay, here's what you did right and you did wrong. You know what we hear all the time? The loan officer who's providing the link, the borrower never asked for it. The loan officer offered it. It's always like this. Well, I could take an application on phone, or I could send you a link, which would be a lot easier. Well, what are they going to say now?
Yeah, right.
Okay, give me the link. That sounds good. And now they're off the phone. Now they pull a credit report online. Now they get triggered by 126 other lenders. Their phone blows up and it ain't you. And all of them are saying, I can beat that company that you just pulled a credit report on. And you lose your deal before you ever got started because you did not build a relationship. Here's the message. I'm going to say what Scott said at the beginning of the show. Do not be a link pusher. Be a relationship.
I want to, because I am I would say pretty scrappy on the streets type loan officer. And when I hear everything you just said, I tend to want to challenge stuff. So
I love that. That'll make this conversation more fun.
Well, because the reason why is because I've been the young, cocky loan officer before, and it takes.
We all have.
Well, right. So, but it takes arguing it out to be like, to figure out, to get to the bottom of it. So the way that I'm hearing this is that, dude, I don't want to spend all that time listening to them fill out a link. I don't want to listen to all that stuff. And like, look, I'll have a mortgage consultation with them later. And like, look, that's when I'll build the relationship. What's the balance, I guess, Dale, between going super deep on a relationship up front before they fill out an application where they could not qualify? In how many? I've had it so many times. You build a great relationship, you run their credit, they have a 400 credit score, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to have the credit repair talk right now. I just want to call the next lead. And look, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. You could argue both ways. Are you being non-compassionate? Yep, you are. But also, you have a job to do. You have a family to provide for. And if you don't bring home the bacon, nobody is. You got to do. So what's the balance, I guess, between wasting your time, get me off the phone, let me just do the next call, and having a high quality, high service, build a relationship call?
So you raised a lot of really good points. And let me answer all of those for you. So you're going to feel a whole lot better about this when this show is over.
All right, good.
Okay. So number one, okay, what you said about, I don't want to go through all this time and then find out later they got a 420 FICO score is a very valid concern. And if you're doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. So if I get on the phone with you, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to begin just by talking a little bit. So Jimmy, all right, here's why I'm calling. All right, I see that you were looking to buy a home. Tell me a little bit about that home, about what you're looking for, and tell me some of the concerns and challenges and questions that you have that I can help you with in this process. I'm going to build a conversation on the front end. I'm going to start to engage you to get you talking to me, okay? Now, once you're done with that, as soon as you tell me everything that you want me to do, I'm going to provide a value statement. You say, you know what, Jimmy, I got some good news. I've been doing this gig for like 10 years. I've worked with thousands of customers just like you, and I'm going to help you with every one of those things today. In fact, not only that, but I'm going to save you more money, create more affordability, get you better terms, better service, close faster than anybody you're ever going to work with. That's my assurance to you. Now, you're feeling pretty good about me right now. Then here's what I say next. Now, to get started before we waste any of your time, because I'm very sensitive to my customers' time, I need to ask you a couple quick questions, okay? The first one is, you're looking to buy a home. How much do you have down that you have available right now? Because that's the backbreaker a lot of times on a purchase transaction. And you go, well, I don't really have anything. I'm a first-time buyer. Well, that's okay. I got a first-time buyer program. We could probably work out something, okay? So now here's the second question. Do you have verifiable, sustainable income? That's the second question I ask you. Okay? Key words there, two of them. Verifiable and sustainable. I didn't say to you, so Jimmy, how much do you make? Where do you work? How long have you been there? I don't do that. I don't start an application yet. I just ask you a basic qualifying question. Then here's the third and final question to ask you. Do you happen to know your credit score? Now, here's the deal. You're not going to be 100% accurate, but you're going to be in the right hemisphere. You're not going to tell me it's 700 when it's 400.
Right.
So if you say to me, oh, we've had a few credit problems, but last time I checked it was like 680, you're fine. I'm not wasting my time now with you. I already know that. So now I'm going to say to you, now, Jimmy, here's what I want to do now. I'm going to send you this link once you start filling this out. And I'm not conversing with you about what you're filling out on the link. You can do that on your own. It's self-explanatory. What I'm talking to you about is more important things. Let's talk a little bit more about where that down payment money is coming from. Let's talk a little bit more about what your goals are for the home. Let's talk a little about your retirement objectives so we can start to build a term around your retirement that gets you out of debt quicker and helps you be debt-free when you retire so you can actually live the golden years golden. See, this is the kind of conversation I'm having. Now, let me tell you why this is vitally important and a reason that I didn't share earlier. I work with a lot of very large lenders, okay? I've trained the biggest banks, the biggest credit unions, and the biggest mortgage companies in the country. That's the thing that makes me different from a lot of the other speakers in the industry. I don't really train brokers. I work with them too, like I did at AIM, but I work with a lot of large lenders, national lenders, because that's what I came out of and I was an executive at. I know I can talk to a CEO at any company about their business. Here's what I've found with my clients, all of which have a link technology. There are 3 or 4 major drop-off points when you send a link to a borrower. Number 1 is their birth date. Number 2 is their social security number. Number 3 is their permission to pull credit. And number 4 is asking for their documentation. Now, here's what happens. We send these links, okay? They get to one of those and all of a sudden they get uncomfortable. Wait a minute, I don't know if I want to give, I talked to Jimmy Ryan for like 1 minute. I don't know if I want to give this guy my social. Maybe I'll call somebody else. And we lose a deal at a drop-off point and we will never see that borrower again because they're not sitting around. They're not calling you back going, Jimmy, you sent me that link. And, now that I got the social, I'm not sure I really feel like giving it to you. They're not going to say that to you. They're just going to call somebody else. And you've lost that deal. And you don't even know you've lost that deal. All of a sudden you follow up. You're like, Mr. Johnson, I never got your link. Well, you're never going to get that link because what happened was you sent that borrower to self-serve. They got to a point of discomfort. You were not there to talk them through it and say, let me tell you why we asked for your social security number, because we need to look at your credit report in order to qualify you for a loan. That's the right way to do it, especially to get you a pre-approval so your realtor will pick your offer over everybody else's. See what that valuable statement was right there? Mm-hmm. I can't do that if I'm not on the phone with you, Jimmy.
Right.
This is why you don't send a link.
Bro, I love that because if there's 4 reasons why somebody falls off, you could definitely handle birthday. That's easy. Social, that's an easy objection to handle. And permission to run credit. Again, do you want this real or do you want to get all the way down? And docs ask, hey, look, it's a part of it. And like, look, let's just say you don't handle the documents. You've already handled 3 of the 4 reasons why somebody's going to fall off. Scott, what would you add to that?
Well, I was going to say, share a story with Katherine Campbell. I've told the story a couple of times, actually I think on Dale's podcast as well, about, it wasn't really a link pusher situation, more of the customer got to the link because you're sending emails that are automated and it says, hey, you can apply now. And sometimes that just happens. And so how do you leverage the relationship building as part of that? And with technology, things that we have set up in the past would be that it would then update the lead record, create a immediate phone call for someone to call. And,
right.
We debated it at the time, me and Katherine did back when she was a client of mine, where it was like, why would we interrupt them? They're right. Yeah, it was my, like, why do I interrupt them? They're, I'm going to pick up, interrupt them, they get on the call and ruin it. And her point was, no, we know they're going to drop off as soon as they get to this section of the thing. So let's call them when we get to the 2 sections before that, get them on the phone and go ahead and address the topic that in 2 sections, you're going to get to a point that you might want, you're going to have questions about. Let's jump in front of that.
Yeah.
So Go ahead.
From a tech standpoint, Scott, you know this as well as anybody. Okay. How many times do we go on as consumers to buy something online and that little chat box pops up and they say, hey, I'm the chat person. If you have a question, I'll be glad to help you. Do we get mad at that chat box? No. We either go, no, I don't think I need it. Or, you know what? Actually, maybe I do. It's the same exact thing. If you create a call and I call you up, I'm not like invading your privacy here. You have told me, you've raised your hand and said, I'm looking for a mortgage.
Yep.
I'm looking for a pro. Well, I'm your pro. So if you say, you know what, I think I'm okay. I'm gonna say, well, you know what? If it's all right with you, I'll hang on with you. So if there's any questions, and while we're doing that, let me learn a little bit more about what you're trying to do so I can build a much better loan for you than anybody else is going to build. Using words like building a customized loan program for you go a million miles with a consumer.
100%.
And it can be that simple.
I mean, 100%. And I think that the sales 101, I guess, point here is that you're pre-closing. You're tabling objections. You're handling them before they become an issue. And it allows the whole thing to progress all the way to the end because you know each roadblock that's coming down the road, and you've handled each one of them so that they're no longer roadblocks. You can go straight to the close. So I want to talk about lead calling in general.
Okay,
This is
let me add one more thought before you
go ahead,
because this is important. All right. Why do I love you two guys so much? You know the reason?
The headband.
Well, that's part of it. It's because of your personalities. I know you both. I know your hearts. I know your thoughts. I know how you view life and people because I've had conversation with you many times. Okay.
Right.
A link cannot do that. We are missing the human element when we don't get on the phone with the borrower. The greatest gift we have as loan originators is our personalities. It's our ability to converse with human beings and persuade them in a positive way as to why they would choose us and why they would do what they want to do. There's not a link. You can take all the AI you want all day long, and it's never going to be able to do that because it's not a person. It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a voice tone that comes across sincere and empathetic and compassionate. You both have that. So why would a loan officer want to give that up for the sake of speed? And the fact of the matter is, you're not saving any time because you're just going to lose deals. So now you got to call a bunch more to make up for the ones you lost because you sent the darn link out. Again, I'm not anti-link. I'm anti-send a link and let it do its own work. I'm anti-self-service. That's what I'm anti.
Dale, you make me want to freaking put on my origination cap again and just be like, because so many people miss this and you're just so motivating about it. It just makes me want to be like, you know what? I mean, it's so easy to be successful. I think it's easier than it ever has been. If you just simply, like you said, allow time, have a conversation. It really is so easy. So I want to shift gears. I've been working on a lot of content, Scott and I have both been, about being more efficient as a loan officer, calling through a large list of people and doing it consistently.
Yep.
coming into the morning, ready to go, and making things as easy as possible for you so that you can actually get all your job done and come home, not to your, dinner in the microwave, not to, pacing back and forth at the end of your driveway as your kids watch you. No, you come home and you're present. So I'd like three things I want to talk about. One is what is your, I guess, is there any like hacks that you would recommend loan officers implement to really get it done and be as efficient as possible, especially in the morning and especially when they come in to do a call session?
Well, Scotty's heard me say this a whole bunch of times. Sell early, sell often. That's always been my comment. You need to start your day with sales, not with anything else. Don't check your emails. There ain't nothing good in there. It's just bad news. It's going to depress you. Don't do that. Don't look at the news. Don't go online and see what the rates are today. That's just all foolishness. Every bit of that is foolishness. And I've had some heated arguments with loan officers over that one. Well, how can you ever go into the day and not know what you're doing? What does it matter if the rates change an eighth of a point today? What does that really matter in the whole realm of things? The fact of the matter is you can't quote a borrower rate until you have their application anyway and be accurate. So it doesn't matter what the rate is. Borrower says, what's the rate? I don't know yet because I don't know who you are yet. I don't know your situation yet. I don't know your qualifications yet. I don't know your goals. But as soon as I know that, I'm going to give you an awesome rate. Don't worry about it. We're super competitive. It's that simple. So you got to start the day with sales. And let me say this, and I really got to be clear about this, okay? I watch a lot of these podcasts and things that are out there, and I hear this a lot. Make sure you spend an hour a day in sales. You spend an hour of days in sales, you will sell nobody in this market today. This is a conversion market. This isn't a volume market. You could do that in 2021 because the phone was ringing off the stinking hook. You might have to dial 300 people today to get one of them to answer their phone for you. But that one can be the only one that you needed to get your 15 this month. So what I want people to understand is start with sales and don't stop till you get one. That's the key to the game right now, is persistence. People ask me all the time, okay, you train loan officers all over the country and you've got loan officers you're working with doing $100 million in 2023? How's it even possible? I said, it's simple. They're machines. They don't stop. And they understand their job is sales first. It's not processing first. It's not all of that other stuff first. It's not pipeline management. It's selling. You got to get your pipeline filled. If you don't sell, your pipeline's not a pipeline. It's a pipe dream. That's all there is to it. So you got to make sure to focus on building a pipeline.
Bro, gosh, I love every second of what you just said. So if you're listening to this, you should just go backwards and listen to that again. But bro, I believe it. I think that seconds matter. I think that like you need to be done calling the lead and be calling the next one immediately right after you're done.
That's where technology is powerful, is it allows you to do that and stay in a rhythm and stay in a rhythm and stay in a rhythm. And by the way, 2 tips. Don't use automated voicemails. Leave voicemails every time. Why? You're practicing your pitch every time you do it. Okay. What happens is I see these guys who have an automated voicemail. They hit a button, they hit a button, they hit a button for 47 minutes. They hit a button, they hit a button. Finally, somebody answers the phone and they're like caught off guard. And now they haven't said anything for almost an hour and they have a terrible pitch that comes out and they blow that one call they could have gotten that morning. You want to stay active in that. And you got to remember, oldest principle in the book, every no get you closer to a yes. So I used to do this with my loan officers. So years I used to manage loan officers. I go, now here's the deal. That borrower hangs up on you. That borrower cusses on you. That borrower says no, and you hear a dial tone. I want you to immediately, as soon as you hear that dial tone, here's what I want you to say. Oh, they love me. Next. And you just go to the next one. And you do it again. Oh, that one loved me too. Next. And I literally had loan officers sitting around, 30 loan officers in my pit. And they're all going, oh, that one loved me next. Oh, that one loved me next. And we were crushing it. Because they never got
also cracking up. I mean,
they were also cracking. They were having a ball.
Bro, if somebody hung up on me, I would immediately call them back and say, I'm so sorry we got disconnected. You were saying? And I would say just like that, they'd hang up on me again.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it allowed me to make it fun, they're clearly being disrespectful. They applied, they inquired. I'm not just cold calling some cold list. But okay, you said something too that I again want to argue with you about is leaving recorded voicemails. So, bro, it takes like 15 seconds to leave a recorded voicemail if you do it right. And if you mess up, you have to hit asterisk, hit pound, and hit record, and then do it again. Bro, I've wasted at least 3 minutes or 4 minutes on probably one call, leaving a bad voicemail and being like, wow, that was terrible. And like, I have a script and I'm reading from it. You know, I have like several different voicemails. Why not just record a great voicemail and like maybe intro it, say, hey, Dale, and then leave the recorded voicemail where it's something that you say 10,000 times. You say it with gusto, you say it with whatever. I mean, am I so cocky that I think that if I do get somebody on the phone that I can boom, turn it on? I feel like maybe I am, but like, I don't know, bro. I think I crushed it when I did that. So I'm arguing with you about it, but bro, so if you're going to listen to Jimi Ryan or listen to Dale, I want everybody here to listen to Dale. But
no, let me appease you on this because you make an excellent point. And the point is we want to try to make as many calls in an hour as we can. And if you use an automated voicemail, you're going to do it faster. So when I said make a voice call, okay, I didn't necessarily mean it literally every single time. But what I don't want you to do is go 47 minutes of pushing a button and you never said a word. Okay. I don't want that. Yeah. So you can do 2 or 3 or 4 in a row and then maybe hit the button 2 or 3 times. Then 2 or 3, 4 more in a row, hit the button 2 or 3, 4 more times. Okay. So you're staying efficient, but you're also staying effective. Right. Because efficiency without effectiveness is of no value to anybody.
Right.
You want to be both. Okay. Right. And you said something really important a moment ago. And a lot of loan officers just, well, I got my script. Well, if you're leaving voicemails all the time, you don't have a script. It's right here. And you're so much better than the guy who's using a script by far because it's just natural every time. And you're modifying each time, you're getting a little better. So you don't literally have to make 300 voicemail messages live. But if you're going to make, let's say 100 calls today, okay, I probably want 40 or 50 of those at minimum to be voicemails that are live, and the other half can be done automated, and I'm fine with that. But I don't want you going more than 3 or 4 minutes without talking, without warming up your vocal cords, without going through your rhythm, without making a pitch, because it makes you more powerful when you're on the phone. You got to remember, I've been training loan officers for 40 years.
Gosh,
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Right? I've listened to tens of thousands of calls, and I can always tell the ones who are staying on the phones all day long because they sound so much better. Right. It's so natural, and they crush it over all the rest.
Was that at AIM Fuse where you showed the video of Kirk Cousins?
No, that was Todd Duncan showed that.
Oh, Todd showed that, yeah.
That was a great example.
Great example of, he would Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Vikings, would listen to all of the different play calls on their way to work, right? Which is kind of where I was going, Dale. I've heard you talk multiple times about practicing while you're driving into work, or practice in some way before you kind of start your day. And I was going to also ask a little bit about mindset. What kind of mindset should you have as you start your day there? But at the end of the day, it's repetitive talking, repetitive listening. Get yourself in the right mindset, in the right mind frame to get on the phones.
Yep.
Right.
Good.
So I also want to talk about, well, keeping it simple, number one, but I think actually here to build off what you just said is that you got to stay on offense, especially in the morning. And you were mentioning like, look, the best sell early, sell often, they just don't stop. Don't stop till you get a sale. Man, I would say don't stop till you've completed every opportunity that is on your list, which could be a couple hundred, but I don't think to everybody listening to this, I don't know that people have 100 people to actually call on their priority list every single day. But if you did, I've added this up and you'll love this. It takes 41.5 seconds to call a lead, leave a recorded voicemail, and be calling the next lead. Yes, I said leave a recorded voicemail. You can hate me, Dale, but I'm just saying you can do it in 41.5 seconds. But if you have 100 phone calls, that will take you 1 hour, 9 minutes. If you talk to nobody, 1 hour, 9. And if you want to do this in an hour, I think that you're self-limiting your potential to actually make the sale. And if it takes 3 hours, well, great. You probably had a lot more conversations. So stay on offense and then handle defense tasks, emails, texts, whatever, in the afternoon. I guess, is that where you're seeing the top do? Is that recommended?
Absolutely. First off, your call times are generally the best with your customers in the morning anyway. That's when you get the most availability, and late afternoon, early evening are your two best prime times for calling. So what I used to have my loan officers do is we sold all the way until lunch. We went and took lunch. We came back from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock was pipeline time. That's when we did all the stuff that we needed to get done. And I'll guarantee you, there's going to be people watching this right now and going, oh, there's no way I can do that. Try it once. And then you tell me if you can do it or not, because I'm telling you, it will change your whole game if you start focusing more on your sales in the morning. Because what it does is by doing the sales in the morning, all of a sudden that phone's ringing in the afternoon, people calling you back off those messages. And now you're starting to get into a really good rhythm. So even if, and I used to remind my loan officers, if you make those 200 calls, 100 calls, whatever it is, and you don't get nobody, you've still gotten 100 to 200 voicemails, which means you potentially have 200 customers that could call you this afternoon.
Right.
Now, we know 200 won't call you, but 2 or 3 or 4 probably will. And you know what? You've set your day properly for the afternoon. So now you can get some sales out, get your 1 sale a day, you're at 15, 2 sales a day, you're at 30, and 3 sales a day, you're at 45. It's just that simple. One of my favorite Batting 1,000 episodes was Kara Whitman. Kara Whitman is a loan officer in Charlotte, North Carolina. She worked for a company called Wyndham Capital, who's now SoFi. I trained her first day on the job out of college, and she was 25 years old, 11 years ago. I'll never forget as long as I live. She was like just real sweet, kind, soft-spoken, kind of shy gal, sitting in the room, just studious as all get out. And I remember walking to her manager going, see that one right there? She's going to be special. Lo and behold, the last 5 or 6 years in a row, she's been one of the top 40 loan officers in the country out of Scotsman's Guide for 6 straight years. She closed over 600 loans in 2020, 600 loans in 2021, over 400 in 2022, over 400 in 2023. And you know what? She just pounds the phones. She just does exactly what I'm teaching to do. And her whole mindset is, I'm just going to keep calling. I'm just going to keep calling. I'm just going to keep calling. And I'm going to be relational. And you know what? It's going to pay off in the afternoon. And it does. And she'd get 3, 4, 5, 6 sales in a day like there was nothing to it. Because she always had a positive attitude. She was always excited. If you want to watch a great interview, watch my interview with Kara on Batting 1,000 from, I think it was January of this year. Absolutely. It'll blow your mind. You will be sitting there the whole time just like, that's the person I want to be right there if I'm a loan originator.
Bro, and I think just to capitalize on this, you got to handle all your BS in the afternoon. And if you handle your BS to start your day, you're going to sell differently. Like you're not coming in. No way you're batting 1,000, you know, and not even that you have no chance of batting 1,000 because your mindset isn't right. Your mindset is on defense. Your mindset is on handling problems. Your mindset is on processing and underwriting and docs and appraisal issues and all of these things that are like, look, I don't even want to sell because I don't want any more problems. Like, I mean, you really have to focus on it. Scott, what would you add to this?
I was going to say that, I was trained by Dale really early on in my career as well as a loan officer. And, the one thing I always took away was like, I don't have any time to deal with processing. Like I have processors, let them process. I've got to be on the phone all day long. Otherwise my processor's not going to have anything in 60 days as that pipeline continues to go out. So life lesson from Dale. The other thing I would add too, is I'm standing up right now. My little trick is I kind of set my 1, 2s, and 3s every day. And I don't sit down until all of my 1s are done for the day. So I've set that schedule every night. Here's the 1s. Here's the things I'm going to knock out first thing in the morning. And I stand up. I do this as a loan officer too. I didn't sit down. My team voluntarily could do this if they chose to. You don't sit down until you get your first sale. You come in the office, you stand up until you get your first sale. Once you get, and then you can kind of see throughout hey, why is Adam over there? Why is he still standing up? Uh-oh. You need some help, need some coaching, whatever the case may be. So,
by the way, if you stand up, you're going to sell sooner anyway because your energy is better, your voice tone is better. It just creates a lot of differences in the way you come across to the borrowers on the phone. There's no question about it.
And look, I think just to add to that too is that I would pace back and forth. I mean, even with a corded phone, I'd be spilling my coffee, with the cord going over it until I got a headset and graduated. But I was on a mission. I was moving, taking steps as I was going through my flow, and it feels great. I mean, I think that people that call leads or that call a high volume of calls in a day, you got a couple of screws loose. I'm telling you, but in a good way, because those people are the people that will sell early and sell often.
Right.
So, okay, I want to, as we wrap up here, I want to talk about, you've just met Kyle Draper, Dale, and I only know that because I actually introduced Kyle to you on a podcast recording that I did with you, and I recorded a show with him, and he was like, I think he called you Dan Vermillion or something like that.
I've been called worse.
Or something like that. But because I'm kind of going into podcasting and batting 1,000, but you just mentioned Carol Whitman, and like, here, go listen to that. I encourage anybody to go listen to the Get It Done podcast with Dale. It's a timeless interview, but it's crazy the impact that we can have just without even knowing it. And years later, you're interviewing with Kyle, and like, there's so many like relationship congruences between you, youth pastors, just all this stuff. And he's not a mortgage loan officer. He's not going to be showing up to Lending Tree University. You know what I mean? I think that it's just super cool how just creating content, being active on social, and I think truly, I mean, just creating a podcast, how it could connect people. So what have you noticed, Dale, I guess here, what's your biggest takeaways from starting a show, having Jake do it, and Jake does a phenomenal job.
Yep.
With batting 1,000.
You know, for me, to be honest with you, it's just been, I'm in the twilight of my career. It's just been a great opportunity for me to reconnect with people that I've known for years, and just give them a chance to have a forum where they can talk. I mean, I don't talk much on those. I try to ask all questions, and because there's just such incredible guests that I'm able to have on there. And I just want to give them a forum for people to hear the wisdom that is out there. I mean, the thing that I take away from batting 1,000 is there are a lot of smart people out there. And I've said this my whole career. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, your career is over. That's all there is to it, because there's a lot of smart people out there and a lot of people that have an awful lot to offer. And the one question that I always ask every guest at the end of batting 1,000, and I always will, is tell me about your greatest mentor and how important that was in your life. Because for me, that was the game changer. I had 3 or 4 mentors in my life. And by the way, let me share a quick story on this. They weren't always the nice, motivating, excited, enthusiastic mentors. In fact, my greatest mentor was the toughest son of a gun I've ever met in my life. He used to beat me like a mule every day. And I worked for him for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, he was like a dad to me. But I learned so much from him, because I learned something young in life. You can learn from people doing things right. You can also learn from people doing things wrong. And both of those will benefit you if you're willing to pay attention and listen and learn. So the thing I love most about Batting 1,000 podcast is I get to hang out with some of the greatest people in the industry and in the world, for that matter, in my eyes. And I just get to learn from them, and keep reminding myself, even after 62 years of life and 40 years of business and all the things I've done, there's a lot I don't know. And I'm always going to stay that way, because if the day we stop learning is the day our careers are over.
I heard him also say something about really smart people being on the podcast. One second, I take a drink real quick.
Well, Scott, I was just going to go to you to pivot.
That was my number one first guest on season 1, episode 1.
Yes.
I bring smart people in.
That's awesome. I was going to say, are you going back on, or it's already done? So, okay, that's cool. So
let me say one more thing, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing people are going to find when they watch the show. Integrity matters. Nobody that I've ever had on that show isn't somebody that you wouldn't let babysit your kids. I can guarantee you that right now. They're all people of incredible integrity, not just wisdom and not just knowledge, but incredible integrity. They're generous people. I loved it when you put the Proverbs 11:25 up verse the other day. I saw it. You put it on social media. A generous man or woman will prosper. He who refreshes others will be refreshed. It's one of my favorite verses out of Scripture. And all of the people that I've had on there are those kinds of people. You know, I get off and I'm so refreshed as the person interviewing them because I just learned so much. But more importantly, I saw integrity in action. I saw people who are oozing it out of their veins. And I mean, you go down the list of people that I've had on that show. It's the who's who of the mortgage arena.
Right.
No question about it. So, and they're all incredible people.
I remember what it was. It was Todd Duncan making a reference to that Bible verse. And he said this, he said something very similar when I interviewed him. And it was just like, this is just ancient wisdom. I mean, it's just like, it's timeless type of stuff. And I would say too, I mean, just to add to, well, I know that you've gotten this out of batting 1,000, but when you have somebody on your show and you're asking them to tell you things about, you know, give me your wisdom, you're edifying them. You're actually giving back to them, and it all comes back. And it's so cool how the whole thing works. So I want to close on MPPH, Mortgage Professionals Providing Hope. Both, you know, Scott and I mean, it goes without question that we're both big supporters of the cause.
Thank you for that.
I guess here, number one, how can people help? But what are some current things that you're doing? What are some projects that are in motion? Maybe some status updates on some things that you're doing.
Yep. So MPPH was birthed in 2007 as a result of a trip that I did to Central India. It was a missions trip that I went on to go see some people that I'd worked with for many, many years. And what I didn't know was going to happen was how incredibly my life was going to change when I met 4,000 orphans over a 12-day period. And it literally changed it wrecked me in a really good way. And from that day forward, I was never the same. And I remember coming back from that first trip. I was on the Closemore University circuit at the time. You guys probably don't remember this, but New Century Mortgage back in 2005, 6, and 7. Myself, Barry Habib, Sue Woodard, a bunch, Jack Davis, God rest his soul, a bunch of people that were speakers in the industry. We traveled all over the country to convention centers, and we were speaking to 3,000 and 4,000 and 5,000 people at a time at these conferences all over the place. And I had just come back from that trip and was up on stage, and the guy who I work with, Dan White, said, "I've watched you do your speech 84 times. This is the 85th. He said something was different in that 85th speech. And it was being around people where I saw that, you know what, we're so blessed in America. We've got so much, and so many people have so little. 1 Corinthians 10:24 says, nobody should seek his own good, but the good of others. That's what we live on. In MPPH and through Mortgage Champions. We live to give. That's the saying that all of us at the office have here. We live to give. We don't live to make money. We don't live to get rich. We live to give. That's what we work for. So MPPH was designed simply to give mortgage professionals and people in the mortgage industry a chance to give back. 100% of the money we take in goes directly to the people we serve. We don't keep a dime of it. I fund the organization through our business, through Mortgage Champions. We've been able to build orphanages in places like India. We've been able to start schools in Guatemala with kids that literally live, Jimi and Scott, in a garbage dump. I mean, sleep in garbage every night with their families. It's unbelievable. I've been there 3 times, and every time it just rocks me. We're able to help many homeless people and single moms in America to have places to live. And right now, that's kind of where our focus is. We're doing a lot of work with an organization called Opportunity Place. My wife's involved with that, and they find permanent housing for the homeless and families. So that's what MPPH does. We're open to anything that helps people. We don't care who they are. We don't care what color they are. We don't care what religion they are. It doesn't matter to us. People are people. Every human being deserves the right to live a life that is worthy of the Creator that they serve and that they were made by. And that's our belief. God don't make no junk. He makes everybody for a purpose, and we want to see everybody served, and that's what we do. So you can go to mbph.org. You can go to my site, dalevermillion.com, and learn more about it. You know, we can send you information on all the different things that we're doing, but we're just here to help the common good. and help people who can't help themselves.
All right, so that's mpph.org, and I would highly encourage any listener to check it out. And as we wrap up here, Scott, any closing words?
I was going to say, we'll probably link the site that we've been using for a while now, because I double donation. So I'll match and or double whatever someone would donate. So yeah, we'll put that link in there to make sure that still gets taken care of. So
what is it? Do you know it offhand?
It's just a crazy link.
It's a crazy link. Okay, well, we'll be sure that we put that link in the podcast description, because Scott wants to give all of his money. I mean, Scott wants to do it. So, I mean,
Scott has been our greatest supporter, and I can't thank you enough. You know how much I love you as a friend and a brother. It's just, it speaks volumes of who you are as a human being, and we really are grateful for you.
Got it. Proud to be part of that. Yeah.
Bro, I'm grateful for you too. Dale, I'm grateful for you. Guys, this has been a phenomenal show. I'm just so glad that we got the chance to put this together. So I want to take a brief moment to thank our audience for joining us today. If you've taken something from this, hey, shoot us a message. Connect with Dale. Dale's all over social. His son Jake is sure of that, I would say. And reach out to Scott. It's Scott D. Payne, and I'm Jimmy Ryan. And
December 26th.
What's that?
December 26th, I'll be live with Jake Vermillion on LinkedIn. So check that as well on the day after Christmas.
Bro, you're putting a lot of stress on us to make sure that we get this released, in time.
Check it out on the 26th LinkedIn.
All right. Once again, I want to thank our audience for joining us today. This has been Shape Shift, brought to you by Shape. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jimmy. Love you, man.